And we are live, and we are in a shiny new studio. Welcome back to the Mundo Sporto YouTube channel, and it is your favourite guest, I would think. It is Poundland Paddy. He's back once again. How are we, James? How you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for asking. I'm more concerned on this Wednesday evening about you lot. I mean, I'm fine. It's all nice and quiet down here in the northeast. I saw the results coming in last night, and I saw that 4-0. So I just thought I better check in on you and all the people in the chat first. That's my main concern.
Do you know what, mate? I have absolutely lapped it up. If I'm being honest with you, it's been beautiful watching all the Man United fans going crazy about this preseason result. It's quite beautiful, to be honest with you. And yeah, it's I'm doing good. To be fair, we've been training for 2 days, so I'll take that. You know, we didn't have anyone injured. That's the main thing. But yeah, it was a little bit embarrassing. Not gonna lie. Losing to them as well. But yeah, we'll start off, mate. We'll get straight into it. By the way, actually, no, we're not going to go straight into it. We've got 11 people in here. I know some of them have already signed up. But if you can afford to, and if you can, join us on this amazing journey, Liz and David have done it, as well as Mark, I believe, as well. Become YouTube members. Now, it's a new journey for all of us. I'm really excited to do it. But basically, the perks you get for Mundo Sporto FC, you get your own special little badges, which are beautiful. For Mundo Sporto Ultras, you get to be part of the new members-only streams. Now, I know this is a brand new thing. Thanks to myself, yeah. So basically, it's a brand new thing for all of you guys watching. Members only streams have never been done by Craig and Connor. They never thought it was worth doing. I'm just like, well, we may as well try it. And we're just going to be doing either Q&A streams or basically just chatting shit, watching whatever you guys want us to watch for half an hour. So yeah, it's going to be really, really fun. And I'm sure James will be in with becoming a member, right? He's definitely going to become a member, right?
It's on my watch. I'm just waiting for payday, so it's on my shopping list for the end of the month.
It's going to happen. So if you do want to become a member, you'll get a shout out on the stream. You'll have access, if you do join the Mundo Sporto Ultras, to the members only streams, which will be talking about anything you guys want. It's literally going to be so good, such a fun time. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Let's start off, mate. By discussing a move close to you Championship fans, because Ben Davies is a player who Liverpool fans have got to know a little bit over the last few years. And he looks like he could be going to Blackburn Rovers. It was reported by the Daily Mail today. Obviously, never made an appearance for Liverpool. What are your thoughts? I mean, you probably know more about him, considering he's actually played in the league that you've watched. So, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, it's a really weird one. A really weird little saga with Ben Davies. He was excellent for Preston when you guys signed him. So comfortable on the ball, excellent range of passing. Similar to a certain Chelsea defender, I'm sure we'll get onto. But yeah, excellent on the ball, dribbler. Just a real. You could see why he got his move to the Premier League. Some thought, maybe going straight to Liverpool was a bit sort of, maybe expecting him to go to maybe a bottom half team first. But no, you could see why he deserved that move. He's gone to Liverpool, as we talked about in my last stream with you, Chris. It is tough to get into the Liverpool first team, especially coming up from the Championship. You're blessed with absolute defensive stalwarts, aren't you, really? So it was hard for him. So Blackburn, going back to Blackburn, if that does happen, it does make sense. My team, Middlesbrough, have been on the defensive raid of Blackburn. We signed Darragh Lenihan on a free, who was their captain at centre-half. Ryan Giles, who was on loan at Blackburn last season, we signed him as well. Ryan Nyambe, their starting right wing-back, is also leaving on a free, also linked with us. But yeah, so they have been decimated a little bit at the back, Blackburn, and they are now a centre-back light. So go in there. If that does go through, Preston fans might not be too happy with him going to Blackburn, but he'd be absolutely guaranteed a starting spot as of right now. He'd walk into the team. So is it a loan or is it a transfer from your guys' end? Do you know?
We don't know, but I assume it would be a loan because. And it would also depend on how much of his wages is getting cropped up, because he's on £60,000 a week at Liverpool. which I think is the most brilliant negotiation from the agent. 5-year contract, 60 grand a week. I mean, he's under no pressure to walk away, is he? And
No.
why would you? I mean, I know I might seem like I'm a mercenary by saying this, but Ben Davies will never have the opportunity to earn this amount of money again. Why would you walk away?
Well, that's the thing. It's does he value his career, or does he value picking up £60,000 a week at Liverpool more than playing? I always got the sense from watching Ben Davies that he was a football man. I know that sounds weird, but you could just see that he loved playing the game. At Preston, a proper leader of men, big in the tackle. So I would like to think that someone like him and with a bit of integrity would take his career over don't get me wrong, a very nice paycheck. But yeah, I mean, it is a tough one. It's easy to say from our position. I don't know what I would personally do if I was on 60 grand a week, or do I go and play at Rotherham away on a Tuesday night? I don't know, but he's still only young, isn't he? He's only about 26, Ben Davies. So
26 years old, yeah.
Yeah, so if he does value his career, he should have another, potentially decade of football ahead of him at a decent enough level. And if he's as good as he was when he got his move to Liverpool, he may well play in the Premier League again at some further point. So I think again, he needs to be careful what he does, but ultimately it is a weird decision, weird saga. But good player, and I would like to see him back in the Championship.
Yeah. So we may as well get swiftly on then to the Chelsea debates that are coming forward. Chelsea and Thomas Tuchel, Todd Bowley have had a dodgy window up until now, really. They've lost players. They haven't replaced them. And many people have been tipping them to fall out of the top six if they don't actually go out and invest in players. Well, today, all of that has taken a complete 360 turn, and they have brought in several absolute stars. Well, they're bringing in them anyway. We'll start off with the one that's actually happening, and we'll go to Raheem Sterling. This is Ollie, by the way. Ollie is currently downstairs, I believe. No, we'll start off with Raheem Sterling. In my opinion, it's one of the signings of the summer. £49 million is the fee, which is the same that Manchester City spent on him when they brought him in from Liverpool in 2015. He's got proven goals. Only one current player at Chelsea has ever got double figures for them in the league. Obviously, they've sold players who have, but Mason Mount is the only one to ever actually get double figures. So it's going to be crucial they sign players who can score goals. I genuinely think he could take them to a new level. He gets a lot of disrespect because he does miss a few chances, but his goal record speaks for itself. What are your thoughts on that one?
Similar to you, I think this is a win-win for both teams. Again, no doubting that Raheem Sterling, you don't play consistently for Pep Guardiola if you're not a good player. It's simple as that. Raheem Sterling, for me, like I said, this is a win-win. Chelsea get a proven top-class Premier League forward in Raheem Sterling, and Man City get the chance to see more of their investment in Jack Grealish and Phil Foden. I think that's ultimately what it comes down to for Man City, that there's an elephant in the room that is Jack Grealish and the price tag that's been spent on him. So, even though the owners of Man City can afford to spend 100 million every Sunday on whatever they want, they'll still want to see some kind of return on that investment, and to give Jack Grealish the best chance of succeeding at Man City, I think Raheem Sterling was in his way, and because he was playing well and didn't need to be taken out of the team, and obviously Jack Grealish has had his struggles to get sort of regular playing time in the sixth team at the minute, but ultimately they've got a really expensive asset in Jack Grealish and a really promising young talent in Phil Foden that Pep Guardiola and Man City fans are going to want to see the most of. And Chelsea, it's a win for them because obviously we know that Hakim Ziyech is probably going to be leaving. Christian Pulisic as well. There's a little transfer sort of saga beginning to develop with him. Will he still be at Chelsea by the start of the season? Who knows? There's interest in him. So again, Raheem Sterling walks into the Chelsea team. He gets the chance to sort of revamp his that Chelsea front line. Get a fresh start, and ultimately as a non-biased England fan as well, it's a win-win for me because I get to see Raheem Sterling get the best chance to put himself in the frame for Qatar. Same with Jack Grealish, same for Phil Foden. So it's just a massive win-win all around. Chelsea fans will be happy that they're signing a player of Raheem Sterling's caliber, and City fans will be happy that they're going to get to see more of Jack Grealish and Phil Foden, and look, they brought in Erling Haaland. So I'm not having any City fans being disappointed with their summer transfer window when there's people like myself sitting around. So no, win-win for everyone. And yeah, I like Raheem Sterling, like you say. He does miss some chances, a few criticisms in his sort of decision making and in the final third and stuff like that. But you can't, like you say, you can't knock his statistics, double figure goals in the last 5 seasons at Man City, bags full of assists in that time as well. So yeah, win-win, good signing, like you say.
Yeah. For those new in the chat, you can have one of these yourself if you do want to become a YouTube member. There are 2 tiers, Mundo Sporto FC and Mundo Sporto Ultras. It'd be great if you went to either of those. It's beautiful that these guys are willing to donate some hard-earned money in order to help me keep creating content, because obviously it does take its toll, and it's great that you guys are willing to support. It's amazing. So yeah, you can choose either one of those. The Mundo Sporto FC bracket will not have access to the streams, members only streams, sorry. But members only streams, it could be anything you guys want, and it's going to be really, really fun. I am not an England fan, Liz. I'm a Wales boy, so I'm half Welsh. So I did used to support England, but then I saw sense. Which is a W for me, and we all know that Wales are going to win in the group stages of the World Cup anyway. So it's all good. It's all good. Moving away from that, yeah, Sterling. Do you think he has been worth the money for Manchester City? I think he's got a goal every 2.5 games at the club, so I don't think there's much debate on that.
I mean, City have won titles with him in the team. I mean, I don't really see how he can be seen as not being an impactful player at Man City. Don't get me wrong. I think if you take him out the team, it's not like they were taking a Kevin De Bruyne out the team, someone of that importance. But don't get me wrong, Raheem Sterling, like I say, the statistics speak for themselves. You don't play consistently under Pep if you're not a good player. He's obviously fancied him over Jack Grealish and Phil Foden when he could have easily have been sort of dropped and could have shaken things up at times. He consistently stuck with Sterling, and he produced it in some of the big Champions League nights, some of the big Premier League nights, scored some vital goals for Man City during those seasons. And ultimately, yeah, I think he was one of City's more consistent players, and yeah, it will be a loss for City, but they'll regroup, I'm sure. And they're not short of money to spend on a replacement, and like I say, they've got two good ready-made ones there in Grealish and Foden. So yeah, win-win all around. But I do like Sterling, good player.
Yeah, definitely. And Chelsea will definitely benefit as well. But Sterling as well. I mean, he's currently Manchester City's second highest all-time goal scorer. Which I think people seem to forget. Like, that's still a very good achievement. Man City contrary to popular opinion, they were not born in 2008. They have had some great players over their time. And the fact that he's managed to stay up there with a lot of those names is a real achievement in his 7 years with the club. So, yeah, I think it's a great move for Chelsea, to be honest with you. And obviously, we'll move on to the rest of their moves. But I genuinely think it's up there with one of the signings of the summer. I don't know. I mean, Haaland, you have to say, would definitely be right up there with the signing of the summer. But what about you, mate? Who else do you think could be in that conversation?
Honestly, I like I say, it's hard to get away from Erling Haaland. I think in terms of, I'll answer your question differently. We talked about them last week. I think Brentford are making these signings of the summer in terms of who. In terms of the players they're going to be bringing in that will benefit their respective team sort of potentially the most, because I see so much value coming from these signings from Brentford. But in terms of an individual player that's not named Erling Haaland or the obvious ones, again, it pains me to say it, but I really think that Sinisterra at Leeds is a really, really cracking signing. I think he'll be a winger that does go to the top of the game. And an underrated one from this, I think it went through today or yesterday, was Nathan Collins from Burnley to Wolves, the centre back. He's absolutely fantastic. He's such a leader at 21. I think he's now the most expensive Irish player in history. proper captain, proper just dribbling, passing. He's got it all. He's a midfielder playing at centre back, but can defend as good as any centre back that he comes against practically. So I think that one, when we look back at that one in the next sort of 3, 4, 5 years, I can see Nathan Collins being at a top 6 club, if that's not Wolves, but I can certainly see him being at Liverpool potentially when Virgil van Dijk gets a bit older, so someone to replace him. Chelsea as well with their constant sort of revolving door at centre back. Nathan Collins is a really sort of one to watch, one to keep a track of, and a name to watch. But yeah, I think, like I say, it's hard to get away from Erling Haaland, and I just cannot wait to watch Erling Haaland in the Premier League next season.
Sure. I mean, it's great to see Lee Chappie in the chat, by the way. Big up to Lee. If you don't remember Lee, he was a real shot to fame when Jamie Vardy obviously came back, and it's great to see. Well, maybe Lee, I'd be more than happy to get you on, man. I've heard nothing but good things about you, mate. So it'd be really, really good to chat to you. Talk about Leicester. I mean, we'll talk about Leicester as Lee's here, because why the hell not? Personally, I had them down as one club who could surprise many. They did have a poorer season last season than was expected. But yeah, I think with the right signings and with Fofana back fit, they're genuinely going to be right back up in with the chance of finishing in the top 7.
Yeah, they're a funny little team, Leicester. They could really go one of either two ways. I could just as equally see Leicester back in those European places as I could with them seeing them down the bottom still. I think they really will go one of two ways. I know that's an easy thing to say. That's a pretty obvious thing to say, but it is a tough one. They've got undoubted quality running through the team. You look at the likes of Tielemans, whether he'll stay or not, I'm not sure, but you've got Fofana at the back. You've still got Schmeichel. I know he's getting older, but still a top class goalkeeper. They are a funny one. I do and I don't like Brendan Rodgers. I don't know what your opinion on Brendan Rodgers is from a personal perspective. I do and don't like Brendan. They're a weird one, Leicester. I do kind of get the sense that I'm going to use a millennial term here, that they've kind of peaked a little bit, Leicester, potentially with their Premier League over the recent years. Obviously, I don't think they're going to get that much better than those Champions League nights at the King Power and everything like that. But I can certainly still see Leicester, and they should certainly still have the ambitions of becoming an established top half Premier League club that kind of begins to push on for Europe, similar to how Wolves are doing it. I think there is obviously a ceiling there for Leicester, but I think they will be on an upward trajectory once they get the signings in, and once, like say, Fofana comes back, like say if they can keep hold of a Tielemans, and obviously Vardy's still got a couple of years left in him. Obviously, they need to find a long-term replacement for him, but that can be done. Same with Schmeichel in goal, but again, that can be done. But yeah, I can see Leicester moving back up the table, but equally, if they're not careful, if they do overspend, if they don't recruit properly, then they take one or two players out of that team, all of a sudden it might not look as impressive, and they might be struggling again. But yeah, they're a tough team to judge, Leicester.
They are. They certainly are. I mean, Lee seems to think it won't be great, but personally, I don't know. Like, realistically, if they can keep Vardy fit, and if he's still going, and if they can keep Fofana fit, I see no reason why they can't move up the table. But I think if they do have a poor start to the season, Mr. Rodgers might be in a bit of trouble. And to answer your question, no, I can't stand the man. I really, really can, and not because of his stint at Liverpool. I don't blame him for that. But what I do blame him for is the fact that he ran off with the canteen lady instead of sticking with his wife, who stuck for him through thick and thin. And I can't remember whose book it was. But I think it was some footballer's autobiography, and it's hearsay, so it could be false. But apparently, he came in asking Brendan Rodgers for a new contract and to get more playing time. And Brendan Rodgers just swung around on his office chair, proper David Brent, and was like, "Get your belt." Like, come on, man. I don't know. It's not for me. He's not for me. I'm not convinced. If I'm being honest, that he's ever going to be a real, like an elite level manager, like right at the top. I don't see it, to be honest with you. I think Leicester might be his absolute peak. Look, fair enough. He came second in the Premier League. He did great with Celtic. But yeah, I'm not a massive fan. Lee, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on Youri Tielemans and yours, James's. James, I'm here to tell you James's thoughts on Youri Tielemans. Jesus Christ, it's been a long day. I was live on Anfield earlier and managed to not scupper up any lines, but I have now. Youri Tielemans, he's been linked with Manchester United and Arsenal in recent weeks. But what are your thoughts on him? Do you think he's still got the capabilities to go up a level, or do you think he's found his level at Leicester?
I mean, he's still in the he's only just coming into the prime years of his career, really, 25, 26. He's undoubtedly a very talented player and scored some very important goals for Leicester, none more so than in that FA Cup final. He is a really good player. He's kind of, I don't know what he is. Is he a more defensive one? Is he more he's kind of a bit balanced. So he's maybe a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none. Is he? It can be a bit of a tough one in terms of how do you utilize Youri Tielemans. But I think 6 goals and 4 assists last season for Leicester. Granted, he didn't play every single game, but I think he's played about 32, so practically a full season at Leicester. 6 goals, 4 assists, doesn't jump off the charts at you. But he's there you go. There's inside knowledge. He is a tough one to judge. I think he is a really solid player, and I think he's one of those players that if you were to take him out of Leicester's team, you'd notice the impact more of him not being in the team. I don't think he grabs the headlines every week. He doesn't put, you don't see him on those goal highlights or on Soccer Aim and stuff like that. You don't see him on these YouTube compilations that much. But I think if you were to all of a sudden take Youri Tielemans out of the Leicester team, I think you would see how much of a role he does play in that Leicester midfield. So yeah, in that way, it's hard to value him. But I think he's earned a potentially a move up. I think it's a case of if he can get this move to a quote unquote bigger club in Europe and something like that, then go. He's earned it, and we'll see how he does. You can't really say that he hasn't at least earned a chance at a bigger club, in my opinion. Whether or not, whether or not it'll work and whether or not he will be good enough is another debate. But I think he's earned a chance to go and prove himself at a top club. And it's like anything, if he goes into the right system, he might not need to be an amazing player. He can just walk into a system that suits him and sort of feeds off the players around him and gets better because of the better players around him. It might be a case of something like that. So, but yeah, I think it would be wrong to say Tielemans hasn't earned a chance to go and prove himself on a top level. So if it happens, then he's earned it, in my opinion, and we'll see how he does.
I genuinely think they've got a ready-made replacement in Kieran Dewsbury Hall, though. There's part of me that just doesn't rate him too highly. I don't know whether it's the fact that he came through, but I'd be an idiot to say that he hasn't had a good impact at Leicester this season. But at 23, he's another one who's only 2 years younger, but he's entering the prime of his career. And he should replace him well if Tielemans does go. Back to Chelsea then, and back to centre-backs, because they obviously lost Christensen. They're looking at potentially losing Azpilicueta. Thiago Silva is 40 years old, and Trevor Chalobah is clearly not mature enough yet to lead a defensive line. It's been spoken about today that Chelsea are going after several centre-backs. First of all, being the man in the thumbnail, Kalidou Koulibaly. What are your thoughts on him? Because for me, I feel like he missed the boat to go to a giant club, but I still think it's a step up to go to Chelsea.
Yeah, for me, Koulibaly has been one of the best centre-backs in Europe for the past, 4, 5, 6 kind of years. I think there's always been that that debate and that question, should he have gone to the Premier League sooner? I think at 31, I think people forget that he's still only about 3 weeks younger than Virgil van Dijk. So and nobody's really sort of talking about Van Dijk's concerns about him dropping off in terms of his fitness or his standard at anytime soon. So it's for me, he's a top class player, and he's a Thomas Tuchel kind of player. He's so comfortable on the ball in possession, and I think Tuchel really demands that from his centre backs. Everyone needs to be able to play football and be good on the ball at every position, similar to that Pep Guardiola system. And he just demands, again, it just demands leaders, demands hard work, demands commitment, and and Koulibaly's excellent at that. He can dribble out of defence. He can pass the ball, start attacks. He's so strong in the tackle, and it's about 33 million. I think it's working out in terms of English pounds. Top class centre backs are so hard to pry away from other teams because it's one of the hardest positions to replace. Because if you have a top class centre back, you don't want to let them go. Strikers are a little bit more free moving in the transfer market, a little bit easy to replace. Same with midfielders. I think it's really goalkeepers and centre backs that are really hard to pry away from other top teams. So when you get the opportunity to do that, I think you've got to take it. And look, Chelsea have got a great history of signing players from Serie A. When you look back, I think like Marcel Desailly in the late 90s, Didier Deschamps in the late 90s. Going to the more forward players, you've got Gianfranco Zola, Di Matteo, Hernan Crespo is another, Shevchenko. They do have a good history, and obviously more recently you've got obviously Rudiger and Alonso and players like that, and David Zappacosta. But yeah, it's undoubtedly a position that they needed to go out and strengthen. I mean, you've lost two starting centre backs in Andreas Christensen and Antonio Rudiger. You need to fill that void. And Kalidou Koulibaly, I think, has still got another 5-6 years at the top level, similar to how I see sort of Van Dijk at a similar age. He's still got another 5-6, maybe even more than that years at the top level. He's going to play till he's 36, 37 in the Premier League. I don't think anybody doubts that. And Koulibaly is the same. I think he's excellent, and I think he walks straight into that Chelsea team and makes them better from the day that he walks in, and gives them the chance to get back to competing at the top of the table again. So for £33 million for me, Koulibaly's top class, and Chelsea will be a much better team for having him in there.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I think. Yeah, as Nick Nacker said in the chat, I just checked he's missed out on, I believe it's 33 league games, 34 league games in the last few years, which is a little bit of a warning, I would say. However, to get a player of his quality, even for 26, 27 league games, wouldn't be a bad amount to get in for £33 million. There's rumours as well and murmurs that Thomas Tuchel might go to a back four this season. How crucial will it be to get a player like Koulibaly who would potentially be able to lead someone like a Trevor Chalobah in a back four, especially because he has a very, very small lack of experience when it comes to playing in a role like that.
Yeah, I think in a back four, certainly as a centre back, you run the risk of being exposed more potentially than playing in a back three with three centre backs. So you've got to have a bit of experience, really, certainly at Chelsea's level, in that sort of, if you're going to play as a back four with two centre backs, then a Kalidou Koulibaly, who will have no problems fitting into a back four system. I think he's flexible whether you want to play him in a back three, back four. I think he's got enough experience, enough know-how at the top level to fit into any kind of system you want to really operate at the back. So yeah, if it is a sort of, if it's a Nathan Ake that they bring in, or if it's a Trevor Chalobah that they decide to roll with and go, we're going to put our faith in youth a little bit and one of our own in Trevor Chalobah, then Koulibaly is going to be even more valuable. That sort of 33 million looks even more sort of impressive and worth it if that's what they're going to do. Because like I say, you need leaders at the back, and losing Rudiger, I think he was class last season, but in terms of his longevity and his career, some people have had sort of question marks. Is he actually that good? I think he is. So losing a figure like that, who is a leader, I mean, Christensen, I don't think that's a massive loss for Chelsea. That was just more of a loss in terms of squad depth, in my opinion. I think once Koulibaly and potentially an Ake or a Kimpembe does come in, I think Christensen would have been out the starting lineup anyway. So that's just more of a squad depth loss, in my opinion. But no, injecting Koulibaly into a back four, if they do decide to switch to that, I think that could also be down to potentially maybe the legs in Marcos Alonso not being there, maybe to play left wing back anymore. Obviously you've got Reece James on the right, but I think he's comfortable again fitting into a back four. I think he's top class as well. So yeah, it's a massive signing, and Chelsea, it's the kind of signings that they should be making. It's the kind of signings that they need to be making, and it just adds a real sort of, because again, Thiago Silva, how much longer has he got left? He's 37. Is he going to be gone in the next year or two? Yeah, he is going to be. So then losing Rudiger, Christensen, and effectively Thiago Silva in the next year or so as well, that's 3 of your starting centre-backs all of a sudden just taken out of your team. And for a team like Chelsea who want to be competing at the top, that can be just catastrophic to, that can take plenty of years to rebuild at that defensive line. So top class signing, top class player, and Chelsea will be a lot better for having him in there.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I know this is repetitive for you guys who've already been here, but I'm pushing it today. I promise you it won't last forever. But we've now got YouTube memberships. We've got a little button called with join underneath this. Click the join and you can join and become a member. You will get a shout out on the stream, prioritize comments as well. And if you do go with the Mundo Sporto Ultras package, which is £4.99 a month, it's two cups of coffee. It helps support us. Basically, you get to have access to members-only streams. It will literally just be me and about the 5, 6, 7 other of you who might be there, just chinwagging about whatever you want to chinwag about. It's going to be really, really great. So a really personable experience as well. And that's what we want to provide you here on Mundo Sporto. And maybe we can get some of the boys in as well, who will be helping out on a regular basis. But yeah, away from one Chelsea centre back, go to another potential one who came into their academy and left. And they do have a habit of doing this now, these clubs. Nathan Ake, £40 million signing from Manchester City from Bournemouth just a couple of years ago. It'd be safe to say he's improved massively this season. And he's now linked with a move to Chelsea alongside obviously Sterling, who's already gone there. Personally, I like this signing, mate. I think it's a really, really good deal, and he's got all the attributes to become one of the Premier League's top centre backs.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. There's something about Nathan Ake that doesn't. I'm just not getting it with him. I mean, you can't get away from the fact that he hasn't played a lot of Premier League football in the past 2 years. I think he only played 14 games last season and 10 prior to that. So, 24 games in the last 2 seasons at Premier League level, is that sort of not lack of experience, but sort of time away from regular game time? Is that going to affect him? Is that going to take a toll on him? I'm not sure. I think Nathan Ake has always sort of suffered from being versatile, if that makes any kind of sense. I think a player like Nathan Ake, you play him at centre-back, and because that's always been the thing about Nathan Ake, he can step into central midfield, he can play out wide at wing-back if you wanted him to, he can play at centre-back, he can play in goal if you give him a pair of gloves. It's just, I don't think that's necessarily helped him in terms of learning a set position and becoming a master at that position instead of a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none. I think if you're getting a Nathan Ake in, obviously he is going to come in and play centre back for Chelsea, and I think that'll really help him in terms of just getting a position nailed down and not asking him to step into central midfield, because you don't need him to. You've got Kante, you've got Jorginho, you've got players coming through like Conor Gallagher and whoever else they might go out and sign. So I think Nathan Ake, when they do sign him, just play him centre back, play him there every week, and get that position set, because he's already 27. I think some people still hear the name Nathan Ake and think that he's 24 or 23. He's not. He's 27 now. He's in the prime years of his career, and it's always been a bit stop-start, a little bit, times at Bournemouth, and I just think it is a risk. I can see it's kind of a low risk, high reward, because if they do go out and get Kimpembe as well, and whoever else they go and get in the years going forward, then you can always just, Nathan Ake can always just be a good squad player. But I think Nathan Ake, I do like him. Again, you don't play 14 games even for Pep Guardiola in the Premier League if there isn't something there, if he doesn't see something there. And yeah, I don't know though. I'm a little bit unsure that Nathan Ake is really going to be the man for Chelsea. Again, like you say, he started off there, didn't work out, bounced around a few teams. And I just think in the last 2 seasons, he hasn't nailed down a first team spot at Man City. Not saying I would at centre back, because I wouldn't, but he just hasn't really failed to, or hasn't really succeeded to get that regular set game time at a set position, and I just think that might hamper him a little bit. But I mean, there's not many better defensive coaches to go and walk into than Thomas Tuchel. I think it's a different situation than when he was at Chelsea to start with. So it's I can see why it could work. I can also see that there's a few, not red flags, but just a few little yellow flags there that I'd just be a little bit concerned about with Nathan Ake. But again, goes back to your point though. Put him next to a Koulibaly, I think he'll probably look twice the player. So that's maybe what they're looking at as well.
Yeah, just as Mark, that's just the Wi-Fi fund commenting has come in, and Mark has sent this in. The Wi-Fi started to go. I'm fuming. But yeah, no. Thank you so much for the donation, by the way. And thank you so much to Nick Knack, who's now become a member. Really appreciate that. It's honestly, it's the worst thing ever when Wi-Fi goes off in this job. Especially because I'm moving into a new place. Like, oh my God, it's so frustrating. But luckily, and because I've got like a camera as well, it's sort of like trying to sync it all up. But luckily, it seems like it's doing slightly better since I've got that extender in. So it's all good. And hopefully, fingers crossed, touching all the wood. That sounds a bit wrong.
That does sound a bit wrong.
Touch wood. That it won't happen again. Hey,
whatever gets it to work, mate.
What exactly? Oh, mate, I'd do anything. I wouldn't. I'll happily, as long as my hands are nice and safe, I'll happily take a few bits of blurry content all the time. Right. Another centre back, another centre back that Chelsea have been linked with is Presnel Kimpembe. This has been confirmed by the Athletic. PSG, obviously, he was coached by Thomas Tuchel there. Tuchel absolutely loves him. Do you think he's someone who could come into Chelsea? Because it seems to be gathering legs, and it should be. I think it'd be a really good deal for them.
Yeah, I do too. I think this would be another really good deal. And all of a sudden, like you say, a back two of a Koulibaly and Kimpembe all of a sudden looks, in my opinion, a massive upgrade on Rudiger and Christensen already. Certainly Christensen. But yeah, I think this would be another really, really, really good signing for Chelsea. Still relatively young. I think he's only, let me just double check, 26. Yeah. So he's still got plenty of years ahead of him. And if he is as good as a lot of us think he is, then, he's going to have, again, another potentially a decade of top class football ahead of him. Again, another one who he's just a bit of a character, a little bit of another guy who kind of plays on the edge, similar to Koulibaly. I think they'd have two real kind of old school centre halves there at the back for Chelsea in Kimpembe and Koulibaly. Again, two players that Thomas Tuchel will, certainly Kimpembe, but even Koulibaly, that Thomas Tuchel will be very familiar with and know well. Again, with Koulibaly, he's going to come into a system where he's played with Jorginho at Napoli. Kimpembe is going to be comfortable in the system as well. And it's two players that I think pose a real threat at both boxes as well. I think Kimpembe is a massive, although his goal record doesn't really show it. I think he's better in the opposing team's box than it kind of shows. Same with Koulibaly. I think he's had his best goal scoring season for quite a long time. Last season, I think the prior two seasons to this last season, he hadn't scored at all. I think he scored 3 goals last season, 3 assists as well in Italy. So he people saying that he's potentially past it as well. I think he's just had his best season in quite a long time. Kimpembe as well played really well by all accounts in France last season. Again, obviously, if you're playing at the back for PSG, it's always a bit sort of how good is he if he's just playing for PSG? Is it just players around him? The standard of the French league is that kind of masking. Really, is he that good? Will he get found out when he comes to the Premier League? But for me, whenever I've watched Kimpembe in the Champions League, I think he's never really looked like a player that I've gone and said, you know what, he looks like he'd get found out in the Premier League. He looks a bit dodgy when he's playing, the Premier League teams in Europe. I think he's always stood firm to the task, and I think he'll stand firm to the task if he does join Chelsea. And like I say, that's some defence that they're putting together. If you get Kimpembe, Koulibaly, Reece James, obviously you still got Marcos Alonso, Ben Chilwell. So it's a really, really good defence, and a top class signing. and Chelsea again are going to be made a lot better for having Presnel Kimpembe.
Yeah, I mean, Obina is a Man City fan in the chat. One of my all-time favourite commenters. I think he's a bit of a goat. Ake better than Kimpembe, better than De Ligt. Now they're both very outlandish statements, but do you know what? I think it'd be unfair to disagree. I mean, the way that Ake in the back end of this season, especially, I'm talking recency bias here. Of course, De Ligt reached a Champions League semi-final with Ajax, and has done okay with Juventus. And Kimpembe's obviously reached a Champions League final with PSG. But this season, I would argue that's true. I think he's got definitely better attributes than De Ligt. But I think it's a wonderful deal for Chelsea if they can get both of those over the line. Mark thinks they should call John Terry out of retirement. He made an interesting statement the other day, saying that defenders can only be ranked amongst the elite in the Premier League if they've been good for 10 to 15 years at the top level. What are your thoughts on that statement, mate? Because I had to write a little article on Sport Bible about it the other day, and I was shaking my head all the time reading it.
I mean, I just don't know. It doesn't make any kind of sense whatsoever. I mean, so Virgil van Dijk hasn't been in the Premier League for 10, 15 years. Is he not a world-class defender then? It doesn't, like, players. There's so many players, even someone like Kevin De Bruyne. Like, Kevin De Bruyne is case in point to why John Terry's point doesn't make any real sense. Kevin De Bruyne hasn't played at the top level for 10 to 15 years. He came through at Chelsea, struggled to show what he could do, then goes out to Germany, puts himself in the frame a little bit more, gets some good time in Germany under his belt, comes back to England, a more polished player, and now look at him. He's I would say the best central midfield player in Europe since he's been at Man City. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne is the best of the best. He's what every young central midfield player is watching. Growing up, they're watching Kevin De Bruyne, but he hasn't been at the top of the game for 10 to 15 years, and it just Jamie Vardy coming from non-league. He's been one of the Premier League's best strikers in terms of his goal rates and his conversion rates for the past however many years he's been at Leicester now. He's been top class. There's so many people that you could just go through that have kind of come out of nowhere and just hidden gems and that have gone on to be top class players. And it's like, yeah, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel. If he's on about Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi playing at, if that's his equivalent of being a top class player, then yeah, fair. They've been 10 to 15 years. That's fair enough. But I mean, I would love to try and see John Terry defend his point to say that Kevin De Bruyne is not a top class player because he hasn't been in the Premier League for 10, 15 years, or he hasn't played at the top level for 10 to 15 years. But we all know that John Terry is an absolute encyclopedia, a dictionary of wisdom, isn't he? He's a never ending, you know what I mean? The stuff that comes out of his mouth, you could see why he played football at times. And I think maybe in I'm trying not to be too harsh on the guy, but I think maybe in sort of 20, 30 years, I think they'll be doing tests potentially, or whenever John Terry unfortunately passes away, they'll be doing tests on his brain in terms of this whole CTE thing at times, just heading the ball, all that argument, because some of the things that he comes out with is absolutely ludicrous. I can think of a couple off the top of my head. I think there was one about him. He was applying for managers' jobs, but didn't want to be a manager. He was just applying to see if he could sort of get an interview, and then he goes to the interview, but he doesn't want the job. So some of the things, honestly, he's an absolute book of wisdom, and his word is gospel. So if John Terry says you're not a good player if you don't play at the top level for 10 to 15 years, then sorry, Kevin De Bruyne, but you know better than Johnny Howson. So do you know what I mean? Make it make sense.
We'll discuss this boy here, Mr. Jorginho season. How are you, mate? I hope you're doing well. I don't know what evidence you're basing that off, but you're absolutely more than entitled to your opinion. We accept everyone's opinion here. But fair to say that, and I'm going to swing this into a question for you, James. Are Chelsea title contenders next year?
No, and that's not being... I said that quite abruptly, didn't I? I'm sorry. I said that more harshly than it should have been. They can It can potentially be, but realistically, I mean, Man City, have they got weaker this summer? No. Like you said, they've lost Sterling, but they've still got Jack Grealish, who's £100 million worth of player. They've still got Phil Foden, so I think they're going to survive. They've still got Bernardo Silva. They're still going to survive. I think, if anything, Man City have got stronger again. Yes, they're going to be losing Nathan Ake, but they've still got Laporte. They're still going to bring in probably another centre back in this window potentially. They can have the pick of the players in Europe and the world. They've got Erling Haaland, who I have no doubt will score 25 to 30 goals in the Premier League next season, and however long he stays in the Premier League. So I just how can you beat Man City at the minute in terms of? I just don't see how. For me, they haven't got weaker, and it seems stating the obvious, but Man City would need to get weaker before you start talking about bringing Chelsea into it. I think, obviously, like I said on the last one, for me, it's City going to win it, and Liverpool are second. And if you come in above Liverpool or you're finishing above City, then you are going to win the league. I think, as same case in point with Arsenal, I think Chelsea should be just looking to be the best of the rest, and that's third position. And went, because I think Pep Guardiola, I think the only thing that's keeping him at Man City is that Champions League. And once he wins that Champions League, I think I can see Pep Guardiola leaving, because I get the impression that he wants to tick off everything on his little sort of checklist in each country that he goes to, and he can't leave before he's done it. So he's just got the Champions League left. So once he ticks that off, and with Haaland up front now, he's probably, who bets against them doing it next year. So once he does that, I think he'll go. And then, how much longer is Jurgen Klopp going to remain committed to Liverpool? I mean, like I say, he's won pretty much everything. Yeah, 4 years, but I mean, you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Like, he signed his new deal. He's staying for 4 years. It's happening. I'm convinced.
So then, for me, then it's going to take 4 years, because then even if Pep Guardiola leaves City, if they win the Champions League next season and then he all of a sudden leaves, I still think Liverpool's squad is better than Chelsea's, and for me, Chelsea, although like I say, they are building a better defense now, they've got Sterling in there now. But if they lose Hakim Ziyech, if they potentially lose Pulisic as well, I've never been sold on Timo Werner. So I think they need a better striker than Timo Werner to eventually, challenge for the. You put Timo Werner in Man City's team, that they're not. You wouldn't say they'd be title contenders with Timo Werner up front if he was their striker, similar to like a Gabriel Jesus kind of player, and City have just let him go. Similar production levels, if you know what I mean, that from Werner to Gabriel Jesus, in my opinion. So he's not. He wouldn't get into City's team, in my opinion. And then it's just. I still think they're a few years off. I'm a little bit concerned in that central midfield as well. Once they lose Kante, I'm not massively sold on Conor Gallagher. I think he's a decent player, but he doesn't strike me as a long-term option for Chelsea in the central midfield. I think he's a good Premier League player. I don't think he's a title sort of a team pushing for a title. Would he get into City's central midfield? No. Would he get into Liverpool's central midfield? Probably not. So again, you've got to do better there. So. No, not for me this year, but they're building, but it's a long process, and City are just. I say how do you beat City in a title race at this point? You just don't, in my opinion. So no, they're third place.
You're talking to the man, to the club who have come 1 point short of them twice. Screw them all. Apart from you, Obina. But yeah, can I just say, war a penalty shootout win in a cup final for Chelsea? Cry about it.
Yeah, I'm not getting involved.
Thank you very much, Mark, for sending that on Twitter as well. By the way, if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at Chris Stonadge for all your latest waffle about everything. People say about Nunes, oh my goodness me. So breaking news now. Breaking news from Fabrizio Romano just came in 4 minutes ago. Koulibaly's landed in London and set for medical tests. Then he will fly to Los Angeles to join the team. 100% confirmed. He will be unveiled as a new signing. In my opinion, a very, very good deal. And it looks like it's done now.
Yeah. It is going to be a good deal. I think. Sorry, who your internet went there.
Koulibaly, mate.
Koulibaly, that's the one. Your internet dropped as your name was saying it. For me, it did anyway. Koulibaly, yes. Yeah, as we've been saying, massively important signing for Chelsea. Walks into the Chelsea team, absolute leader, absolute unit, and again doesn't make City Chelsea title contenders, but it certainly helps out. It certainly improves their defense. It's a massive upgrade on Andreas Christensen. I think he's still, like I say, people are still saying that he's potentially past it. I don't think that's the case from his stats and from what you see on his highlights and stuff like that when you go and watch some of his stuff. I don't think that's the case at all. I think he's still a top class player. So yeah, it's and I think the fee is excellent. I think 33 million for a centre back of Koulibaly's. I don't see many centre backs that are better than him going for that, as cheap as that in today's market. So I think they've got a bit of a steal. So I like it.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, how much solace do you take out of a pre-season friendly, James? Because I've just seen Nunes out of form, Nunes in form. He missed one chance. This man scored 26 league goals last season. I don't know what these boys are smoking, to be fair, bless them.
I mean, we're winning the league because we beat Bishop Auckland 5-0 last week and we beat York City 3-2. So I think we're winning the league. So as you can see, I put a massive importance on the pre-season friendlies. They dictate your season. They show that if you're going to be good enough or not. Absolutely not. The pre-season friendlies are nothing but glorified bleep tests, really. I think it's just all about fitness, testing players at new positions, testing formations and tactics. But I can see why, and again, I've got nothing against United being non-biased, but I can see why United and United fans are getting so excited about it. They've been a little bit starved of the odd trophy and seeing the pyrotechnics fly and the confetti fall. So I can understand why they're enjoying it and fair play to them. But I mean, I can't even remember the name of the competition or the trophy that you called it in that little pre-season friendly.
The Bangkok something trophy. I can't remember what it was. But
Bangkok trophy. Basically, if you ever went to a goals birthday party, it's just the equivalent of getting a goals medal at a birthday party for competing. It means absolutely nothing. The pre-season friendlies just mean absolutely nothing, and it's just about building fitness, seeing what getting players fitting into systems, getting a bit of energy in the legs, and but I can see why United fans are getting excited about it. Yeah, they beat you 4-0. I mean, it doesn't happen very often for them, but I'm sure when the season the proper season rolls around and the proper Man United Liverpool game rolls around, I can't see it being 4-0 to United again. And but how much did you pay for Darwin Núñez?
68 million pounds initially.
It is a lot of money. It is a lot of money, and similar to how your views on the Eredivisie, I think Portugal and the Portuguese league falls into that similar category. I think you've always got to be a little bit, not concerned, but maybe not get too ahead of yourselves in terms of signing a player from Portugal. Look, I mean, he's obviously a very talented player. I've got that. 26 goals in any league is nothing to be shrugged at. But he did miss an open goal. He's got a good haircut. He's got a good name. Again, that's my niche now, so he's got a good name. I mean, he's not going to. For me, he doesn't look like a player that's going to score 20. And that's not potentially because of his talent. I just think with Salah there, with Luis Diaz now there, there's so much competition for goals in that Liverpool squad. So is he gonna lose out potentially because of that as well? But that's a lot of money to spend on someone from the Portuguese league. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to upset everyone in the chat because I'm new here and I want to keep you all on side. And I know the majority of the people in the chat are Liverpool fans, so I don't want to dampen your spirits too much. But it's a lot of money. I'll put it that way. A lot of money.
Luis Diaz came from that league.
He did, and Ronaldo did. And,
but no, it's fine. It's a fair point. I personally don't have huge and tremendous expectations for him because I feel like it would be unfair. He is still only 22. I think he's going to be. I think 15 goals is going to be a good season in the league because he's still only young and he's still adapting to a new league. And but for everything apart from that miss, I really liked about him yesterday. His movement looked really good, but yeah, it's certainly interesting to see what will happen with Mr. Nunes. Hey to Jordan in the chat, hope you're doing well. And I will say it's the one final plug because I've been doing it all the time. But if you want to become a member, join. The button is join below, and you can have your own exclusive badges. We are working on emojis currently as well. If you join Mundo Sporto FC, and if you join Mundo Sporto Ultras, you will be allowed into the members exclusive streams where we are literally here to talk absolute shit, uncensored, everything you want to hear from the Mundo Sporto boys. So it's going to be good. It's got to be done. It's got to be done. We've got 5 minutes left, so let's open it to the floor. Let's get some discussion in from that. So let's see what you guys can think. My missus is having a chat with people in the chat. I love that. It's a W. And Liz, to answer your question, it's your favourite James freaking Milner. You love a bit of James freaking Milner.
Come on. James Milner. Of all the people you could have picked, James Milner.
He wins the lactic acid test every year. He's the GOAT.
Oh, you mean fittest in terms of stamina or in look?
Oh, yeah. I wasn't talking about like all of the to look at.
Oh, I was going to say, because I mean, each to their own, but I wouldn't have picked James Milner personally. But yeah, I think he's the fittest stamina.
I'll pose a question to you. Who's your choice for most attractive Liverpool player?
I tell you what, that Fabio Carvalho's not a bad looking lad. He'd get on Love Island and he'd cause a few scraps on Love Island if he walked in. I think, yeah, he's a good looking lad. And I can tell you from watching him in the Championship last season, he's a hell of a player and he's going to be a very good player for Liverpool. But yeah, in terms of who I'd most like to couple up with if I was in the Villa, I think Fabio Carvalho would be my number one choice.
Oh, mate, you can't not say Mr. Virgil van Dijk. The man is exuberant. They're just a beautiful human.
Yeah, the height difference wouldn't work. I'd have to be walking on stilts. I haven't officially measured myself with a shatterproof ruler or anything, but like I'd put it sort of in the region of 5'9" to 5'11", somewhere in that region. I'll say 5'11".
Yeah, say 5'11", mate. Say 5'11". Now it's got to be Van Dijk, maybe Nunes. Now, to be fair, he's up there, and Thiago Alcantara. Just people who use class, to be honest. It's got to be done. It's got to be done.
I'll give you that.
Yeah. No, he wasn't. It will rise to £85 million if he scores the amount of goals that is expected. But it's initial £68 million, so get fucked. Anyway, I saw a couple of questions here. One from Etinoza. Do I think Chelsea will still go for Ronaldo? I don't think so. What do you?
Not for me. I mean, like I say, if they want to get better than Timo Werner, then he is better than Timo Werner. But it's just how many more years out of production are you going to get from him? 1 or 2, maybe, before he retires. Is it going to be worth paying the fee and the wages that you're going to have to pay for Ronaldo? And again, for a team like Chelsea, if he was to go to a team like Chelsea, they'd have to be ready to challenge Man City now. And I don't think, if for it to have any point of him going there, you bring Ronaldo in to help you fight you to the title, don't you, if you're Chelsea? But I just don't see their squad matching City's to do that at this point. So not for me.
No, I don't think it's going to happen. The only way I see him playing, I think Ten Hag said he's meant to be sticking around. So it's going to be an interesting one to see whether he does or not, because he's certainly been angling for a move. It'll be interesting, mate. There isn't many potential destination that I can really think of. PSG have ruled themselves out. Bayern have ruled themselves out. So, we'll just we'll finish it there. I'm going to plug the membership one more time. If you do want to become a member, £2.99 plus £4.99 if you do want to become an Ultras member, because that is the place to be. That is members-only streams for the absolute goats. And you get to have little badges as well, which is really cute. And you want to do that. And you know what, James? You know what's really cool about them? The longer you remember, they upgrade. So after a month, your bronze badge will go to silver. After 2 months, I think it will stay silver actually. After 6 months, it will go gold, and after a year, it will go diamond. So,
I mean,
there's
I tell you what, that is some. How can you not get on that? From it's like progressions. It's like a battle pass for all the games. Like you love all your battle pass. It's like a battle pass, like a battle pass membership. It's class. Yeah,
exactly.
You've got to get on that.
Got to be done. And all for the price of a coffee, and it's helping me out massively to get better Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi fun. As we said, don't forget to join Craig on Twitch at 8:30 p.m. if you aren't already going to go there. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next stream. Bye bye.
See you later.